Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studios in the great state of New Hampshire and the Gurkha Cigar Studios in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Kevin Acuff.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday night. It's another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I am joined once again. Actually, I'm sorry. I went right into that too quickly. I'm not joined once again by my very good friend, Mr. Kevin Acuff. He had a personal issue come up, and he couldn't make the show. He's all right. He's fine. It's more of a work thing, but he'll be all right. But he couldn't be here tonight, but that's okay. We have a great guest with us tonight, a very important guest. We're here in the J.C. Newman Cigar Studios, and so therefore it's long overdue. But it is my honor and privilege and my pleasure to introduce to you our guest tonight, who is none other than Mr. Bobby Newman of J.C. Newman Cigar Co. and the famous Newman family. Bobby, welcome to our show. It is an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Matt. It's an honor to be with you and the listeners too. I'm in my backyard. It's about 92 degrees here and about 90% humidity, but we have a slight breeze, and we're all waiting for winter to come. So all is good. So thank you for having me on, Matt.
Absolutely. It's truly an honor, like I said, even for me to have you here. And I'll echo what you said. The weather is very, very, very close. I think our temps and humidity is pretty close up here in the great state of New Hampshire. I will say, though, unlike you, we're not waiting for winter to come here because our winters are not fun. So we're enjoying this before, we're back to shoveling snow and ice because it happens.
Listen, Matt, our family's from Cleveland, so we feel your pain.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Ohio, not Cleveland, Tennessee.
Yeah, it's cold. So yeah, this is nice. As tough as it might be some days, it's still better than snow. That's what I like to say. So, but it's still beautiful. It's still beautiful, and it's a great night for a show. We had a little bit of a storm here, and I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I was worried that if we lost our internet or something, lost power, but I think we're going to be okay. So. Let's get the show on the road. It's awesome to have you here, as I said. Couple of things that I want to mention first, obviously, before we get going into the show, is we couldn't be here without some of our friends who helped put this show together, like J.C. Newman Cigar Co. I think some of these people you know very well too. The first thing I'll bring up here is our cigars of the night that are brought to you by the number 2 guyscigars.com. That's right, the number 2 guyscigars.com. Amazing selection of cigars and accessories from all over the industry, from brands you all know and love, such as J.C. Newman and many others, to maybe some that you don't know, and you can grab something new and try something new. There's always something new that's going on at 2 Guys Cigars. Bobby, as our guest, I'm gonna let you go first. I assume you're smoking one of the amazing cigars that your company makes. What cigar is that tonight?
My favorite cigar is the Diamond Crown Julius Caesar. For many reasons. I think you and the other listeners know all of our Dominican cigars are produced by Arturo Fuente.
Yep.
And we've had a 38-year relationship with them, and we sell their cigars across the United States. And to quote my father and Carlos Fuente Sr., it's when 2 + 2 = 5. So it's been very, very synergetic since day one.
Yeah, I love the Diamond Crown line. All the blends in it. The Diamond Crown brand. I mean, if you're a true cigar smoker, that's a brand you at least know of, and hopefully you smoke. It's made by the Fuentes. It's under the care of both of you guys, obviously, and you really can't beat it. Great cigars for the price. They're all different, but they're all great. I would have to probably agree with you. I think, my favorite would also be the Julius Caesar. That's just a great, great cigar. I think it was the first Diamond Crown I ever smoked.
Wow.
Even the Maximus. I mean, the Maximus is a great cigar too. I mean, that one's fantastic. But yeah, that's a really nice choice there, Bobby. So, cheers to you.
Well, thank you, Matt. Cheers to you and all the listeners. It's funny with Diamond Crown and Julius Caesar. Some people think it's named after the famous a Frenchman, Julius Caesar, but it was named after our grandfather, his name was Julius Neumann. He landed in Baltimore in 1888 because Ellis Island had not been established yet.
Yep.
So I've been reminded by my brother and Drew. And when he came in from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, it's a 13-year-old in 1888. Didn't have a middle name. His name was Julius Neumann. So he was very short for his age. He spoke German and Hungarian, and we've kind of re-engineered how they communicated, but they're translators. And the immigration office, the American immigration officer, thought it would be funny. He said, "You're short. How would you like to be Julius Caesar?" Through a translator. And Grandpa J.C., he was 5'2" when he was fully grown, so he had a Napoleonic complex. He thought that was great. The immigration officer said, "By the way, your last name now is Newman, Newman." And so that's how it all started back in 1888. It's interesting. Grandpa J.C. was born. He was born 13 years after the American Civil War,
Wow.
which ended in 1865. And for any history buffs out there, if you love American history, take Grandpa J.C. was born 39 years after the fall of the Alamo, which was in 1836. And it goes back a long way. And people say, how in the heck can you remember him? And the reason why, Grandpa J.C. Started his company in 1895 when he was 20 years old. And he didn't get married till he was 41. So he had my dad. My father was on a B-24 Liberator. He was a master mechanic on those big radial engines. And he got married late in life in his 30s. I got married at 41 and had my first child at 43. So if we were together, or if we had a whiteboard in front of us, Matt, you would see we missed generations. We skipped generations. So that's why I remember our grandfather, J.C., we used to call him Grandpa J.C. because we go to his house every Sunday. He moved us all in 1954 from Cleveland to Tampa, which at the time was making over 500 million cigars, mostly by hand, using Cuban wrapper binder filler.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1962 came, and John F. Kennedy put the embargo in January 1962. And the embargo, because the famous story, the night before, his chief of staff, or his name was Pierre Solinger, and he told Mr. Solinger to go out and buy 1,500 H. Jutman cigars, and because he said, the next day I'm going to put an embargo, anything from Cuba, no more tobacco, no more sugar, and no more rum. And basically it broke the back of the industry. And the reason we're even talking is to each other tonight, because our father Stanford, let me back up, the embargo in 1962, all the cigar manufacturers in Tampa had a 2-year, everyone had a 2-year supply of Cuban tobacco, wrapper, binder, filler. By 1965, it was out. And so one of the tobacco dealers that my father knew from Holland, from the Van Beek Company, sent my dad some samples of this new tobacco no one had ever heard of. No one could pronounce it, had no idea where it was. It's called Cameroon tobacco. And that's Stanford. Our dad was the first American to bring Cameroon tobacco in the United States. And it saved our business. And I don't speak for the Fuente family, our business partners, but I think they would agree it saved their business, because they followed us using the Cameroon tobacco. And
they use
so that's
a lot
why
of it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
So that's yeah. It's a magic tobacco, I think, for a lot of you guys. It's used quite a lot between both of you. So, and it's good. It's delicious too. It's great stuff. It's great. A lot of the cigars that you guys make with it. So, but I have a cigar here that I'm smoking tonight that also I'm sure will get you excited. I'm smoking a Brick House Churchill. I love the Brick House line as well. Between Diamond Crown, Brick House. These are classic brands. These are classic cigars you need to have in your lineup. And all these cigars are available at the number2guyscigars.com. Fantastic cigars. Um, I know you guys make so many more cigars than these, but between Diamond Crown and Brick House and man, just powerhouse brands that you guys have here.
Well. Thank you. And Brick House, and that's what's the beautiful part about the premium handmade cigar business is that every brand has a story. Brick House, I'm smoking a Partagas. Okay, so Joseph, is that a Cuban Partagas or is that a Dominican Partagas? I
Ooh,
see his. Can you see that?
yeah. Good call. Yeah, well, he put in his 8x54. I don't think the
Mm-hmm.
Cubans make a cigar that big, do they? 8
I
by
think
54.
you're probably right. Yes, I think you're right. Um, but to quote a gentleman we've met several times, Arnold Schwarzenegger, when we launched Diamond Crown in 1995 for our 100th anniversary at the Grand Havana Room, uh, we met Arnold Schwarzenegger and some other Jim Jim Belushi. Anyway, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of the kindest, nicest, smartest people you'll ever meet. And of course, the famous people ask him, "What's your favorite cigar?" And he'll tell you the cigar I'm given. But anyway, he's but oh, here it is. Joseph said Dominican,
Yeah.
DEM, Dominican Republic.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a fine cigar. It's the cigars made today in Dominican Republic, in Nicaragua, Honduras, um, there's in Costa Rica. These are the best. There's never been finer quality in our opinion because the competition is so stiff. There's so many great cigars. Obviously, we think ours are as good or better than anyone else. It's like our children. You think you got your children the best looking or smartest or best mannered or whatever. But going back to brick house, Grandpa J.C. he was born in 1875 in this only brick house in this tiny village in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And when you open the box, there's a picture of his home. Uh, and he lived upstairs with his four brothers and two sisters. It was a tavern downstairs, and when he came, that was one of his came to the United States, one of his early brands, and to remember his boyhood home, and he took it off the market in 1937. We don't know why. Uh, Grandpa J.C. died. He was just close to 83 years old. 1958. He didn't feel well in his office, and he drove home. He lived about 5 minutes away, and within 30 minutes he was gone. And he had exercised the day before. He took good care of himself, and my father took over Stanford, and then Dad was 90 years old in 12 weeks, and he was in my brother's office, and his heart stopped. He was raising hell about one of our big accounts was withholding payment, and that's not what caused it. But so people ask us, when are Eric and I going to retire? And we say, well, we don't. We work till we drop dead. So our father used to say, it's better to wear out than rust out. But uh, the industry right now has never been stronger, and I'll say during the cigar boom from 1992 to the end of 1997, driven by Marvin Shank and Cigar Aficionado, uh, it was a wonderful time. It was more like a fad. I think because of COVID was a disaster for the world, but it brought it. Who knew people would stay home and smoke cigars? And oh, hi, Bill Stewart. I love this. You could say, hey, Bobby, roll out from the old Cigar Family site. Wow. Anyway, Bill,
Everyone's
we're going to
showing
have a
up.
reunion. Yeah, we're going to have a reunion for Cigar Family next year in Dominican Republic. And we haven't done that in a long time. Of course, COVID changed a lot of things. But anyway, but COVID brought in who knows thousands, hundreds of thousands of new cigar smokers. A lot of women as well. Matt, I see you're lighting a cigar. If you were with if you and I were sitting together 20 years ago, and you lit that cigar, every woman in the room would clear out because that we remember. Oh, get that stinky thing away. Get the cigar. And now you see, go to these cigar bars, and there's women in there. They're buying cigars for their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their husbands. It's really it's a wonderful industry. It's the industry I think is probably well, when Grandpa J.C. started in 1895, there are 80% of American males smoke cigars. And the reason we know that is, and when Grandpa J.C. started in Cleveland, his factory, there are 42,000 licensed cigar manufacturers in the United States. The reason we know that as well, because Abraham Lincoln was the first president to put an excise tax on cigars. It was his idea in 1863. The Union was going bankrupt fighting the South, the Confederate Army, and it was his idea, which was a brilliant idea. We don't like it, but I'll tell you the reason why. But it was a penny. The tax was federal excise tax, 1 penny for every box of 50 cigars. Many of the boxes back then were boxes of 100, boxes of 200. You had to go. Most of the manufacturers are 1 and 2 man operations. They are every city in the United States, every small town had cigar manufacturers. I remember our father used to say that, and it was hard to believe that every small town 100 years ago had breweries, because I grew up in the era where in the 60s and 70s you had Budweiser, you had Miller, you had Schlitz, and Coors was only west of the Mississippi, and those were they controlled the market. And I went to school. I went to graduate school in New Orleans. I remember seeing Jack's Brewery, and I was so surprised that there was any other beer around. Of course, there was some beers made in Texas, Lone Star, and so forth. But anyway, going back to the excise tax, it was a penny for every. You had to go. It was a penny for every box of 50 cigars. Many of the boxes were 200 cigars. Everyone, as a manufacturer, you had to go to the post office and you buy these federal tax stamps. You had to glue them on the bottom of your box. And you can buy these on eBay and see how these old federal tax stamps look, what they look like. That tax has never been taken off. When President Obama came in, the first bill he passed was the Family Tobacco Prevention Act, and it regulated anything that was considered carcinogenic, cancer-causing, cigarettes, roll your own, smokeless tobacco, and the wonderful FDA took it upon themselves as a mandate. Let's just regulate all tobacco, cigars, pipe tobacco, chewing tobacco, and so forth. So we've been fighting this battle since 2011. That's when the Cigar Rights of America started, and we're still active today. And as you know, I think you and the listeners know that we won a huge victory 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Judge Mehta, an Obama-appointed federal judge, he told the FDA that, because we've been fighting them in courts for years, we spent over $10 million, just this small group of the Cigar Rights of America brands, and we plus over 100 visits to congressional their offices, having fundraisers for them, and even including senators. And the Judge Maida said to the FDA lied to the court, federal court, and because the FDA had done a study, it came out in the 2017 New England Journal of Medicine, and said that the average American cigar smoker smokes 1.7 premium cigars a month, and it would not affect mortality. So Eric and I and Drew, we took that information and we got a meeting with Dr. Scott Gottlieb. It's like meeting with one of the disciples, and his office said, "Don't bring any lobbyists with you. Just come yourselves." And we did, and we had a meet. It's like meeting with him was fascinating. We drove into we Ubered into the FDA, and did I lose you?
No, you're here. I got you. You're good.
We're fine. All right, we have to hit something. Wait a minute. Let me get out of this. Well, you can see me. That's fine. It's this new tab. Hey, hang on 1 second.
Tell you what, while you look at that, I'm gonna announce our other partner here really quick. We, as always, we're cutting and lighting our cigars with ST Dupont products, featuring the Fluo collection from ST Dupont. That's right, tactical sexy. That's what we're calling it. That matte black finish with a nice neon igniter on the side. This one's the orange one. You've probably seen some of the other ones from Coop and Kevin. They got the green ones, the blue ones, but they're all fantastic. There's multiple pieces in the collection. Head over to sddupont.com to check it out today and ask your local retailer for ST Dupont products. Sorry about that,
Hey,
Bobby.
Matt?
Did you find that?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And ST Dupont, Les Mann is their
Yeah.
vice president of sales and marketing.
Yep.
Great guy.
Great
So,
friend
Bill,
of mine.
can I-
Yeah.
Oh my good, I will. Is it okay? Is it okay, Matt, if I read these comments?
Oh, absolutely.
to you?
Oh, absolutely. That's part of the show.
Bill said, I was the first CFR, Cigar Family Charitable Foundation. You met in the hotel for the first Cigar Family Charitable Foundation in Ybor City. Tell Drew and Eric I said hi. I certainly will, Drew. Bill, I'm going to take a picture. 1 second of this.
Absolutely.
And Eric and Drew are down in the down in our factory, Pensa in Esteli, Nicaragua. And Bill, just tell me, I don't remember, Bill, where do you live? Maybe you can type it in as well. But anyway, we talk about ST Dupont. It's this very small industry. So I want a shout out to Les Mann, a dear friend of ours who runs the ST Dupont. I don't know if he's vice president of sales and marketing or if he's CEO, but great friend, great products too.
Yeah, absolutely. Les also watches the show from time to time, so if he's in here, he'll definitely comment. Or not, he'll catch the show later. He always watches the show. So shout out to Les, and I'm glad you brought it up because we wouldn't be here without Les. So shout out to him. He's an awesome friend and he does a great job. So happy to have Dupont here with us. But yeah. Anyway, back to you though, Bobby. As much as we love Les, it's tonight's your night. So, you've definitely given us a little bit of some history there too, which I love because you guys are the oldest operating cigar factory in America, one of the oldest brands in the business. You guys have definitely been around a long time and seen some things and done some great things. Cigar Family has been brought up a few times already, which we'll probably touch on that a little bit later in the show too, and all the great stuff that you guys have done there. And we just finished our fourth fundraiser for CFCF. This year we raised, I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I want to say close to $25,000.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think our total so far over the last 4 years has been close to $150,000. So it's been a very successful couple of years with the Smokin Tabacco fundraiser for CFCF. It's
well, thank you, Matt.
It's
big. That's a lot of money, and it costs us $850,000 a year to keep it going. And it's people because of supporters like you. And of course, we have the Toast Across America. We sell about 10 to 11,000 of those little coffin boxes. And Joseph Seymour, I'm in Texas. What city, Joseph?
Yeah, where are you in Texas?
Bill moved to Michigan a couple years ago, but from Broken Arrow. Oklahoma. Nice. Bill, watch those tornadoes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, tornadoes. That's like Tornado Alley there. That's scary. I thought the hurricanes were scary, but I know they're also scary. But man, tornadoes, man, I don't know. There's something about tornadoes.
Hurricanes move very slowly, and you get plenty of warning. Tornadoes usually you get about a 2-minute warning or something. Today it's more sophisticated. We'll say it's tornado-like weather. Just be careful. But Lubbock. All right, Joseph Seymour is from Lubbock. So Joseph, one of my wife's best friends growing up. Her son is a long snapper for Texas Tech, and I'm sorry I didn't know you lived out there. Would have called you. We were there 2 years ago, and Lubbock. If you like music, Buddy Holly was from Lubbock, Texas, and we went to the Buddy Holly Museum, and course, everyone knows about Buddy Holly, how he died in a plane crash in 1959. It was terrible. And the movie
Some
La Bamba did a good job on that, too.
some say the day the music died.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yes.
um,
Great song. Sad, but great.
um, yeah, it's and it and it's great. And thank you guys for commenting along, and adding to the show. I would love to have. I love the audience interaction too. So every time we can have them, it's definitely part of the show. So I'm glad you're getting into it too. Thanks for reading the comments, Bobby. It's awesome.
Oh, my God. I love it. Love it.
I wanted to talk about, I mean, obviously, we've talked about, Brick House and Diamond Crown, but, more recently, you guys have been working on some really special products out of the El Relo factory that I know you guys have done a lot of, enhancements and renovations on, and, cigars like the American and the Angel Cuesta. Um,
Right.
tell me a little bit about those projects and kind of how special
I'd
those
love
are
to.
to add to the
My God.
legacy of the family.
Well, thank you. I would love to. So Drew, he came in Drew went to school in Williams College, and then he went to law school at American University. And then when he got out, he went to work because it relates to Drew. I'm talking about these were all Drew Newman, Eric, my brother Eric's son,
Right.
and um, so Drew became his first job out of law school. He went to work for one of the 13 district of commissioners uh, of Washington D.C. and her last name was Chen, Chen, and so Drew became a legislative director under her, and then he became a regulator. And Drew has really and if our CRA board was listening, they would agree that he has certainly been on the tip of the spear. We have too, our whole family, during this long fight against the FDA, and we've had the FDA in our factory. We've had literally dozens, many dozens of fundraisers in our factory. Marco Rubio's been there several times. Uh, the head of the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell, has been there. We, you have to have, yeah, whether you're Republican or Democrat, we're all Americans. We had a fundraiser for Nancy Pelosi, and said she could help us. And so I know that's not a popular name, but so we had, like I said, one of the reasons it's good we still have a factory. And I'll get back to that in a minute, but to the what about Drew's coming into the business. But we have like you said, the last working factory, and Bill said, I want a DE ashtray in this year's raffle. Last year I won a box of rare pinks. Oh, wonderful! Glad to support Cigar Family Turbo Fund. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Bill.
yeah, absolutely. But so when Drew came in, this cockamamie idea, he wanted to go through have a 10-year restoration and renovation at the factory and put a hand cigar making factory on the third floor. And Eric told him, Drew, if you want to spend your inheritance now, or you can spend it, you can wait till your mother and I die. And Drew said, no, I want to do it now. It's kind of a joke, laugh. But so making cigars in the United States by hand, it's the labor in the United States is 8 times what it is in Nicaragua. But Eric said, okay, we'll do it. And so Drew had this idea to come out with develop a, a brand. Well, the first brand, let me back up. We bought Grandpa J.C., J.C. Newman, our grandfather and dad bought the factory, El Relo factory, which El Relo stands for the clock. Seymour says, I love all your cigars. Well, we love you, Seymour. Thank you. We appreciate it. Come see us in Tampa. But so Drew had this idea and to go do this massive restoration. We're in year 7. And Eric and I were not in favor of it. But like the movie Field of Dreams, Build It and They Will Come, last year, 2023, we had over 15,000 visitors. We had 22 weddings. We had I think we had 89 or 90 corporate retreats. So we use the factory on the weekends and nights. There is for nonprofits that we in the Tampa Bay area, we just give them the factory, and for nighttime. We have a whole staff. It's run by Kara Guardo, and we have three full-time guides with three tour guides Monday through Friday. We work the first Saturday of every month. We try to make 65,000 cigars on these hand-operated 1931 machines, and then we have so going back to Drew's idea, the American was the first brand that was made in our factory, which is the Regensburg factory. The first brand in 1910 was called the American. So Drew wanted to bring the American out again, but his idea was to have it 100% American-grown tobacco. We're very close friends with Jeff Borshowitz, whom I think everybody knows, Corona Cigar.
Yep.
Jeff has three large stores in Orlando. There's a Diamond Crown Lounge in the downtown store in Orlando. He has a beautiful store. It was called the Davidoff Lounge in Tampa, right across the street from the airport. Huge. And after his contract ran out, it's now the Diamond Crown Lounge is now in there, which is great. And Jeff has a store in Sarasota. So Jeff started growing tobacco about 12 years ago, and he started growing Florida Sun-Grown in Claremont, Florida. And I told Jeff he was out of his mind to do this because why would you want cigar tobacco had not been grown in Florida since 1977. And the reason why is because the federal wage law, had a new law came out that said you had to pay farm workers a minimum wage. And I have worked on tobacco for his farm, and it is, especially when you have to bend down and pick these leaves, and it is hard work. But anyway, most of the tobacco grown in the United States was either grown in Florida, Quincy, Florida, Havana, Florida, or Connecticut. And the Connecticut shade is still grown a little bit in Connecticut, and also Connecticut broadleaf tobacco. So Jeff started growing the Florida Sun-Grown. His 20-acre tobacco plantation is it's like 20 miles west of Walt Disney World. And you drive there, you cannot believe you're in the United States. He's got a tobacco drying barn. It looks like you're in Nicaragua or something. So we started using that tobacco, the Florida Sun-Grown, as a wrapper. The binder is a Connecticut broadleaf binder. And then we had a difficult time finding who in the United States would be growing long filler. So we ended up with the Mennonites, and which is interesting. We started with the Amish, but they grew a seed that was so thick that it wouldn't burn right. So, and the Amish, they don't use electricity, they don't drink, they don't smoke. When you go to their farms, it's like going back 200 years. So we switched from the Amish filler, long filler, to the Mennonites. And every component, the box, the cigar band, the cellophane, the cigar label, the nail in the latch, in the catches, the latches, the ink, everything is made in the United States. And this was Drew's idea before President Trump said, make America great again. It's made a lot of great noise. We have two rollers that make those cigars. And then Drew's idea was to honor the Cuesta brand. Our father, Stanford, bought the Cuesta brand in 1959 from the Cuesta family in Tampa. They had only daughters. The industry was going down in units slowly, and the family wasn't interested, so we bought the brand, the Cuesta brand. So Drew said, let's come out with a brand called Angel Cuesta, and I think it's done. We have two rollers for that. Les Mann, all right. The Newman family is on my Mount Rushmore. I have so much respect for the entire family, actually the entire company. When in Tampa, visiting their factory for a tour is a must-do and must-see. Well, thank you, Les. You must be listening. I hope you heard what I said about you and ST Dupont. And Les is a dear friend. I'm not breaking any confidentiality, but So Les's son worked for us for a couple years as an intern. He goes to the University of Tampa, and Les hates when I say this, but Les is almost a scratch golfer, and he's a natural. I've had hundreds of lessons, and you either have it or you don't. Les, you are a natural. He's a one of the kindest, best salesperson I've ever met. Man of honor, and it's a mutual admiration society. But anyway, so we went to the American, and it's done very well. It's sold under allocation. Each person is allowed to make up to 100 cigars. We have 2 rollers for American. We have 2 rollers for Angel Cuesta. And then Drew had another interesting idea. The people from Leroy Neiman, most people probably under 50 never heard of Leroy Neiman. Leroy Neiman was a very famous painter, and when Sports Illustrated was really hot, when obviously magazines in the 60s and 70s, Leroy Neiman became famous by painting NFL football players, Olympic athletes. He's been on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and his foundation, his heirs, got a hold of Drew. I don't know how, and they wanted to help raise money for their foundation. And Drew said, "I'll tell you what, we will make all the cigars for you. We'll call it the Leroy Neiman, providing that we won't make any money. We'll give all the if you don't charge us a royalty fee, we'll give 100% of the profit on that cigar to the Hillsborough County, which is Tampa, to the Hillsborough County Public School System for arts education." And they said yes. And that cigar is made now by 2 rollers, and so now we're up to 6 rollers, and then we have a 7th roller that's making a cigar called Tampa Smokers. And Tampa has a long history. Martinez Ebor brought the industry from Key West to Tampa in 1885. Tampa's population was 790 people-ish back then. And when Mr. Martinez Ebor brought the industry from Key West, by 1905, there was 30,000 people in Tampa. It was the largest city in Florida. This is when the industry was booming. There were everybody, I'd say 90% of people lived in Tampa were related to cigars, either hand cigar maker. Let me interrupt. Lester, thanks so much for your kind words. Great show tonight with Matt. Well, I agree. So thank you. Les, we love you. Les, we love you and your family, as you know. I know you feel the same way about ours, so thank you. But so
love you, buddy.
When Martinez brought Martinez Ebor brought the industry, I was saying 90% of the population, they either made cigars or they had something to do. They worked for box companies. There wasn't cellophane when they started, but they worked somehow. They made catches. They made labels for the inside and outside of the boxes. So it was I would say up until maybe 2 decades ago, because Tampa is booming, like Charleston, South Carolina, like Nashville, like Austin, Texas. But there was somebody, you would know somebody who had a relative that worked in the cigar industry. So Drew felt, and I'm paraphrasing what he felt like, and he said this. He's been on a dozen of interviews, both locally and regionally, and a handful of national. But Drew felt like we had an obligation to keep the city's historic cigar making heritage alive, because if we don't do it, it'll die. And just like Drew was married, and he and Ariel were married, I don't know, 10 years ago in a mill about 6 in North Adams, south of Williams College. And as you know, in New England, especially you live there, Matt, there's dozens, maybe hundreds of these old red brick buildings. There were many of them. They made shirts and socks and hats and pants, and so that whole industry moved down to cheaper, lower price labor into the southeastern United States, and then it went down to Central and South America. Then it went to China, and thank God things are starting to come back to America. As you know, the chip factory. That's what we're doing. We do events every year all of I do, Eric does, Drew does, and I do an annual event in Columbus, Ohio, at the Humidor in Newark, Ohio, and their Intel's building a multi-billion-dollar plant there, all high-paying jobs. But one of the good things that COVID brought was it slapped us Americans back to our senses. I don't think any American knew we don't have aspirin in this country.
Oh no. Did Bobby freeze? Oh no. Did we lose Bobby? I'm sorry about that, folks.
Dollar contract, yeah.
Oh, there
With
there we go.
okay, Joe Rogan signed a $100 million contract with Spotify about 8 years ago. His either his number one or number two podcast, and he's done thousands of, were with this guy named Peter Zeihan, Zeihan, and he was talking. This was January of 2023, and it's an hour and 53 minutes. I'd be happy to send it to you, Matt. It's insane because he was talking about what's happening back then in China. He predicted that China, he said the population, it's the fastest aging society, and he's talking about all the challenges that they have. And he was talking, we got a big business in Germany, but he said the German industrial plant is going down. And Joe Rogan said, "How come no one else is talking about this?" And he didn't have an answer. But anyway, nothing stays the same except change. But the best thing that's happening is in our industry is that there's a genuine interest for good handmade cigars, premium cigars. As you know, the cigarette industry is going down. It's in a tailspin, and but the cigar industry is a slow. Of course, during a cigar boom, it was during COVID, it was growing by double digits. It's flattening out somewhat. But the interest in cigars, we have the reason we get the statistics from the Cigar Association of America. Eric, Drew, and I are on its board, and we've had a Newman on the board since it started in 1933. So we see what's coming in from Central and South America, and the number of cigar bars that want to open up and are opening up, it's like I've never seen anything like it before. And thank God there's such an interest in premium cigars. My father used to say to my mother, who told us, because when we joined the business, I joined in 1975, 49 years ago, full time. My brother joined in 1972, full time. So this is Eric's 52nd year. And my father used to say, maybe we're in the buggy whip business, and or maybe we're in the. That was his. He used that, and obviously when Henry Ford developed the Model A or the Model T. That was the end of horse and buggy.
Yeah, I mean, talking about another family who goes way back. Yeah, I mean, it's really awesome to hear all this. You know, we have a lot of people on the show. We do a lot of great interviews and you know, great guests, great stuff, but I have to say this has been so great so far with you because it's just so much history, and and we have so much. Looking at some of the comments that were just added, I was kind of holding back for a second, but Joe Seymour, great information.
Well, thank you, Joseph, too.
Really, I like history. When I was a kid, I didn't really love school, but I liked history. I liked learning about things that happened before. And as I got older, I got so much more into it. Like I read about stuff all the time, a lot of historical stuff. I find it very relaxing and I mean, it's great information. I mean, all sorts of different stuff. You know what I mean? And so I love like a lot of this historical, conversation. We don't get to have a lot of it on the show. So this has been very informative and awesome, Bobby. So thank you. And I know you have so much more.
Yeah. The one thing I would like to say too is that Eric and I were against this whole project, but Drew had this idea. So we bought the entire city block behind us, minus a few houses, and we're trying to buy them up. And we bought 3 houses in the last 2 months. And we bought what came with it was an old hotel called Sanchez and Haya. It opened in 1910. And Eric and I begged Drew, let's just tear it down. It'd been vacant for 30 years. And Drew said, no, we've got to bring it back to its glory. So it's about a 2 to 3 year project. And we're getting some old post tobacco. Most Americans don't know that the largest Connecticut and North Florida, outside of Tallahassee, Florida, it's called Quincy and Havana, Florida. They grew millions and millions of pounds of cigar tobacco. And so we are acquiring some post-Civil War tobacco barns. We're going to disassemble them and reassemble them across the street. So our friends like you and everyone on the air, you can come down and you can plant tobacco, you can pick it, and you can put it up in this post-Civil War tobacco barn. You can take it down. It's obviously there's a whole process for many months process, and put it in the take it and put it in our aging rooms and come back and roll your own type of thing. So we have hand cigar making classes every Thursday and Friday. I thought Drew was out of his mind. We have tobacco. So I came up once, third floor a couple years ago, and I saw all this tobacco wrapper binder filler, and very neatly laid out in a really cool, like complex of wooden racks. And we have 24 different types of wrapper binder filler. So we have tobacco tastings every Wednesday and Thursday, and it's like a bourbon tasting. So it's a maximum of 8 people. Someone leads it, usually Holden Rasmussen, our lead. He's our historian, lead guide.
I've met him.
And,
yeah, nice guy.
Yeah. So it's all about the experience. And so we hope you don't have to have a passport to come to Tampa. And we hope people come to visit us. We're tracking at over 20,000 visitors this year. And Matt, you got to come back. You won't recognize what since you've been there since 2021. And it's we're just blessed that there's so much interest in handmade cigars. Not only me and you, but everybody who loves cigars. And we love. Let me tell you, if I meet a customer, if ours or someone else, I just thank them for enjoying cigars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I went down there and I've been to the factory, and I know a lot has changed since I've been there. And if you like cigars, I like how you put it. You don't need a passport. It's true. Not everyone is able to, go to the Dominican or Nicaragua or, some of these other countries, where a lot of the cigars are made, or and visit factories and farms and stuff like that. I mean, I've been lucky, and that is an experience. But and if you can, you should go. Anytime you have an opportunity, you should go. But if you can't, going down to Tampa to visit the Newmans, that is on the list. It should be on your list. It's something that you won't regret. It lives up to the hype and more. It's a special place, especially if you like the history. That's got to be like in your top 5 things to do as a cigar smoker, is go down there and visit them in Tampa. And you guys are just you got the Cigar Workers Park, and everything else. You guys just keep making it bigger and bigger and more special. And you're definitely busy down there. But it's awesome, and it's great to see that within the United States, there's such a big cigar center. I mean, Tampa is Cigar City. You know what I mean? But what you guys have been able to add to that is not only impressive but just amazing. And I think for the true cigar smoker, it means a lot to all of us. We appreciate having people like yourselves who do that.
Well, thank you. It's a small world. Danny Nippers, as you can see, says, "Hey, Bobby, so good to see you on the show. I had the pleasure of visiting with you in Havana. This is Havana, Florida, which is outside of Tallahassee, at the Shade Tobacco Museum at their event." And Danny, it's good to hear from you. Thank you for coming on and saying hi. So the Shade Tobacco Museum, because millions of pounds were grown they started growing tobacco in around 1826 in northern Florida, and very similar soil. Joseph Seymour, I would love to do that. Well, thank you, Joseph. But tobacco started growing in northern Florida, in 1826, and their relatives are still there. And Danny's saying, love visiting the factory so often because it's always evolving. I'm fortunate to live an hour and a half north of it. Well, thank you, Dan. Next time you ask for me, please, Danny. I'll give you some special cigars as well as for for friendship. Thank you. But the Shade Museum is some people and non tobacco people got involved, and they just got a very large grant from the state of Florida. It is Havana, Florida. Is it's charming. It looks like an old west town, but happens to be in North Florida. And the Shade Museum is so people can still remember because it employed thousands and thousands of people, and they grew shade tobacco, which obviously it's tobacco that's grown under the cheesecloth. And we bought a lot after Cuba. After we ran out of Cuba, my father bought hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, as did the other Tampa manufacturers like Bering and Perfecta Garcia and Garcia Vega, which was a great brand at one time. From the Oliva Tobacco, not Oliva Cigar, but the Oliva Tobacco Company that started in 1936. And we buy a lot of tobacco from Oliva, from Ecuador and other locations. And ASP, David Perez. The industry is very, very small. It's interesting, Matt, that until the cigar boom came in 1992, no one was making money in the industry. The growers were not making money, the manufacturers were not making money, and the retailers were not making money. And now, a rising tide raises all the ships, and everyone is doing much. Everyone's making a pretty good living doing this. And we've had this is our 129th year in business, and 100 of those years, 110 of those years have been challenge years. We survived the pandemic in 1918, I'm sorry, and then First World War, Second World War, the Cuban embargo. This thing with the FDA has been a real nightmare. But they say what won't kill you will make you stronger. I never dreamed in my life that I or my brother Andrew, we would go up to Washington and walk the halls. We hired K&L Gates. Bill Gates' old law firm is called K&L Gates. They have about 1,200 attorneys, and we hired them as our Republican lobbyist, and we hired Paul Danino as a Democrat lobbyist, because you have to have access. Yes, you can get in there, but it's much easier if you go through a lobbyist. And met with Harry Reid, and Harry Reid. Harry Reid was the president of the Senate, head of the Senate, as you know, and I asked Paul Danino. I said, "How much power does Harry Reid have?" I'll never forget it. He said, "Harry Reid, he could have all the toilets flush in Washington D.C. at the same time." I said, "I get it." And the famous statement in Washington is that if you don't have if you're at the table, if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. And also you don't want to become an unintended consequence. And we had very little voice in Washington. And I went up there. And Jeff Borshowitz and I went often together, over 100 trips up there. And we had in 2012 that's how long we've been going up there. 2012 we had our little definition of cigars on the Agapros bill. It had to pass so the farmers could get paid, and the dairy farmers could be paid. And the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, had it taken out, and I was so mad. We were all just because the definition of a premium cigar had stayed in, we'd been the FDA couldn't have touched us. And unfortunately, Big Tobacco got to him. And I've seen him since then. I told him, I said, I was so pissed at what you did. I understand now why, because Big Tobacco legally gave the Republican Party millions of dollars through, when you give to a U.S. congressman or congresswoman or senator, you have to give personally. You cannot give from your company. You have an LLC or corporation or subchapter S or chap or C corporation. But about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, the Supreme Court passed, it made a ruling that said that made it legal for a company to give. You can give as much, you can give millions, you can give $100 million, but you have to give to a political action committee, either Republican side or Democrat side. And we learned a lot from this. But I'm looking at you. You have a you have a headset on, right, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a hat. You've got a shirt on. I don't know if you have a ring on, but any industry, service industry, and manufacturer, if you do not have a voice in Washington, now if you're in the pizza industry or the laundry, dry cleaning industry, if you don't have a voice in Washington, you will get run over. And you and I could fly up New Hampshire. We'll get a driver, a big car. You bring your favorite beverage, and I'll bring my favorite beverage. We'll drive from Nashua, New Hampshire, and drive to Seattle, and smoke our favorite cigars. And I'll tell you stories, what we've been doing since 2011, and we got this great victory. We've been deregulated thanks to Judge Maida, and now the corrupt, I should say this, Drew would kill me, but anyway, the Department of Justice is, Drew does everything by the book, as he should, but his uncle Bobby and his father were not attorneys, but the Department of Justice is trying to overturn that. And the reason we won is because the FDA lied to the federal court. So now, like I say, the Department of Justice is trying to overturn that. But we have this time we have science on our side. It's not our science; it's the FDA science. And I get very passionate about this, and so we've developed a lot of friendships up there in Washington over the years. Anyway, I got lots and lots of stories about that, but I don't want to monopolize.
No, I mean you do. You definitely do, and I appreciate you sharing them. I do have to pause you briefly as I read our news for the week, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up. But no, for sure, and I'm so thankful that you're here to share those stories. And I wish we had all the hours in the night. And I'm definitely gonna have to have you come on so you could tell some more, because it's been very interesting. And the audience is loving it too. I mean, just seeing the comments. So thank you, Bobby. You've been a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, our pleasure. Anytime. Like I say, it's an honor. I love doing these. And during COVID, I did 24 podcasts. I didn't even know what a podcast was before COVID, really. And but thank you for your kind words, and I hope you'll come back and visit us, and Matt, and we'll put you in the hand cigar making class, the tobacco tasting class, and
definitely,
it's really a nice experience if you like cigars.
Yeah, I've smoked a few in my day. I think I'd be into that. But
I heard that rumor, Matt.
Yeah, it's around. But anyway, it's time for our news once again, which is brought to you by Micallef Cigars. If you head over to smokintobacco.com, you can check out the reviews on Micallef Cigars, featuring the Micallef Black, rated 91 by our very own Kevin Acuff. This week, news from Drew Estate. Liga Privada Unico Serie Pancetta announces its 2024 annual release at the New Jersey Cigar Festival, which is scheduled to debut up in the upcoming New Jersey Cigar Festival. Pre-sale starts on July 15th. The box price is $149.99, $14.99 per cigar. It's a box of 10. This is an annual release that comes out every year. Anyone who smokes Liga Privada and is a fan of Drew Estate will probably be familiar with this cigar. So that has been announced. Those are coming out soon. So if you're looking for those, head over there now. You can pre-order them, $14.99. Initially launched as the highly sought-after exclusive. Available only through Wooden Indian Tobacco Shop in Havertown, Pennsylvania, and Barrister Cigars in Union, New Jersey. This limited edition has become a staple for collectors and enthusiasts seeking unique and complex smoking experiences. So definitely check those out. I've gotten them the last few years. Every year is a new release. And they're fantastic. They're great. I'm a Liga Privada smoker myself, and they're a little different than the rest of the Ligas in the line. Very unique and a great experience. So definitely check those out today. And that was our news, brought to you by Micallef Cigars. Going back to Bobby. Bobby, I know we're running out of time on the show, so and I'm like disappointed. I wish, like I said, I wish I had more time. But like I said, it's been great, just hearing these stories. And I want to just say, in addition to everything you guys have done, manufacturing wise, what you've done for the community in Tampa, and now to hear about the things you guys have done in Washington for the industry, it's just it's very admirable. And as a cigar smoker, I thank you guys for everything you've done and everything you do.
Well, thank you. And if you have me back, I'll explain. We started a program in 2006. Uh, there's the only guide dog school in the Southeast United States that's accredited is outside of Sarasota, Palmetto, Florida. Then I've I've been on the board since 2000. I have a lifetime board membership. And we started. I hate to say but the first American serviceman to lose both eyes in the global war on terror in 2004. Corporal Michael Jernigan, a 25-year-old Marine, was blinded over there. And next time we're on the show, I'll have to explain it. But
Sure.
It's now a $20 million nonprofit. That's our budget. It goes up every year. And we give these dogs away at no charge for the guide dogs, service dogs. And we have we found foundations to give us enough money that we can supply free dog food, the life of the dog, free monthly preventables, heartworm, ticks, fleas, emergency care, annual visits. We gave out our 1,000th dog back in March, and no one has committed suicide. And here we are in America, 22 to 50 veterans a day are committing suicide. And
Sad.
it's shameful in a country as great as ours. But anyway, I said we got lots of stories, and if you invite me back, I would love to come.
Definitely gonna have you back. I gotta have the others on too, but definitely
Good.
have you back. Maybe you guys can come together. That'd be great. You guys can bounce off of each other and.
Absolutely. So Eric and I are each writing a book. We were going to write a book together. If you go on jcnewman.com, Drew put on Grandpa JC's book that he wrote when he was 80, called Smoke Dreams, and you can read it, the whole book on there. My father, when he was 80, he wrote his biography called Cigar Family, and dedicated the book to his family and to the Carlos Fuente family. So Eric and I are writing a book, and we're going to write it together. And our stories are so different, so we're going to write it. I'm writing mine, he's writing his, and we're going to. It'll be let me tell you, I don't expect to sell any, but we want to do it for our kids and the next generation and the following generation. Drew has a little boy named William, 4 years old. He's got a little.
I think the broadcast froze, but we're good. We're here.
I don't. Now we're now frozen. I don't know if it's you can hear me or not.
I can hear you.
but
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can see you. Sorry, we had just a momentary lapse in the stream, but we're good. You're here, and we're almost done. But I was just going to ask you, so those books that are out already, and then yours eventually when they come out, those books are available on jcnewmancigar.com. That's where people can buy them. Can you hear me, Bobby? I don't think you can hear me. Bobby, you there? No. Sorry about this, guys. I'm not sure. I don't think Bobby can hear me. Bobby, you got me? I don't think he can hear me. Sorry about that, guys.
So Matt, I'm still here. Everything is frozen, but Matt, if you want to call me, I don't have your number on me. I said if you can hear me, the cell number is 813-245-0008, and but I'll hang on.
Well, but I don't think he can hear me. I don't think he can hear me, but I think I'm going to end the broadcast there. Sorry about that, and give Bobby a call. I'm not really sure what happened there, but maybe I can get him back. But
a building 130 yards away.
just gonna mute him really quickly. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. So I for some reason I can't hear Bobby. I can hear Bobby. I can see him. And it looks like he's coming through on our end, but he cannot hear us for some reason. And I'm not really sure why. And it looks like we lost him. So I'm sorry about that, guys. But I was getting ready to wrap up the show anyway. So sorry for the ending to that. But that is our show for the week. So thank you to Bobby Newman for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate his time, and he was just such a wealth of knowledge. I can't wait to have him back on the show in the future. So thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for the comments and being involved in the show. We appreciate it. Don't forget to go to smokintabacco.com for more news, reviews, and updates from the cigar industry. I'm Matt Tobacco, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. Thank you.